had the opportunity and I didn't have a lot of time to think about it. It was like, take it or leave it. That's it. Yeah. And I was like, oh man, I got to move back from Chicago to Little Spring Hill, Florida. I'm not doing it. And I didn't want to wonder what if. So I said, you know what? If I do it, I know I can do it. So I said yes, but I didn't know what I didn't know. And I encountered so many obstacles on top of the ones I did know.
Welcome to the Daughter Dearest podcast with dynamic mother-daughter duo Simone and Olivia Canego, where they discuss the secrets of transformation and how to build bold confidence and unwavering resilience. From intimate conversations with inspiring guests to sharing their personal journeys of triumph and challenge, Simone and Olivia create a supportive space where every woman is encouraged to rise above her fears and love the woman in the mirror. Tune into the Daughter Dearest podcast and join this special journey of connection and growth.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's version of the Daughter's Dearest podcast. I'm Simone Canego.
And I'm Olivia Canego.
And today we have a very special guest with us, Ryann Halo. So here it goes. Here's her amazing bio. Ryann Halo is a highly successful entrepreneur and founder of Salon Halo Salons and Halo Consulting. With over 17 years of experience, she's grown multiple companies from startup to multi-million-dollar enterprises. Ryann is also a sought-after speaker, a certified John Maxwell leadership coach, and her insights are featured in major industry publications. At the age of 11, her life drastically changed when her father took the life of her younger brother before taking his own. Despite facing trauma and adversity in her upbringing, Ryann's journey to success is inspiring. From dropout to entrepreneur at age 16, she's overcome significant obstacles. Ryann is committed to giving back to the community, supporting various organizations, and sharing her message of hope through workshops. Ryann's dedication to empowering female business owners is evident through her Grow and Glow method. By fostering servant leadership, she helps them achieve sustainable growth and greater freedom in their lives. Her remarkable journey and contributions have earned her recognition, including being named one of the top 100 women to know in the U.S. by the Know Women and a finalist for the Tampa Bay Business Women of the Year Award in 2023. Ryann, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, guys. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks for having me.
So we know each other from Brand Builders Group, which seems to be a common theme on my podcast lately. But we're really excited that you're here, and I think you're going to have so much to offer our listeners.
Yeah, so excited to be talking to you today. And
Thank you.
Brand Builder peeps.
So I want to start by having you tell us a little bit more about yourself and about Grow and Glow. So tell us what you do and how you help empower women.
Oh, there's a lot there.
I know. Break it down to like 3 minutes. I don't know.
Sure. I think to truly understand where I am today, you have to understand what brought me here and what I experienced to get to this point. And I think a lot of people that know me now and don't know about my history assume that I probably always knew the path I was going to take. You know, I'm 33 years old and I got started with my first salon at 21 and I went to hair school at 16. That gave me a huge advantage, being able to get started so young and being so focused. But it's funny, it wasn't what I wanted to do. And it was actually something that I felt a little bit, I felt a lot of hesitancy and I felt like I was settling at that time. But what I learned through taking the path that was in front of me was that no matter what you're doing, it's not about the title. It's not about the diploma. It's about the unique gifts you have and how you apply them to any given situation. And for me, what I found that I absolutely get the most satisfaction and fulfillment from is seeing other people grow and reach their potential and reach their fulfillment and their definitions of success. So, what I used to define success as for myself was I thought I was going to be a lawyer or I go to an Ivy League college. And at a pretty young age, I tested into the gifted program. And that was a really big deal. I was the only kid in my school getting bused to another school. fast forward to 6th grade, that's when the tragedy hit my family and really spiraled into a very unexpected situation I found myself in, leaving my mom's house when I was 15. So I did feel some hopelessness at that time. Like, okay, well, this is what you were told you have to do to reach your what other people are defining as success. And as a young person, you don't have the awareness to know any differently. So I just felt, well, that's it. I'm going to be a loser. All my potential is down the drain. And when hair came into the picture, I mean, I've always loved hair and makeup and music and art, but also been analytical as well. So I thought art and fashion, that was the fun stuff. And the success and the serious stuff had to come from that traditional academic route. And I resisted a little bit. I got my first job in a hair salon. I was actually assisting my aunt shampooing when I was like 12. And then I was officially hired for $25 a day at 15. And I did resist this. I still felt a sense of like, am I settling? Am I not striving to achieve all I'm capable of? And I quickly realized that I could grow that $25 a day to $50 a day to $100 a day by being of service and by just showing up and being excited to take whatever the day threw at me and give it my all. And I quickly realized that not only could I have fun and fulfillment and financial success and, praise and everything that I could have asked for. So I went to hair school at 16 and then kind of happened from there.
And when you talk about grow and glow, so can you just give us a little bit of a breakdown of what you teach women?
So you heard that. So that's the early part that got me in this position. Mm-hmm. So 10th grade education, I thought I was going to, after hair school, then become editorial freelance artist. So again, very different from leading people and growing companies. And I was on that path for about 2 years, loving it. And unexpectedly, another pivot, another, fork in the road. I got offered a hair salon. It was actually my aunt's that I worked in when I was 12. She was leaving and I had the opportunity and I didn't have a lot of time to think about it. It was like, take it or leave it. That's it. Yeah. And I was like, oh man, I got to move back from Chicago to Little Spring Hill, Florida. I'm not doing it. And I didn't want to wonder what if. So I said, you know what? If I do it, I know I can do it. So I said yes, but I didn't know what I didn't know. And I encountered so many obstacles on top of the ones I did know. But the biggest lesson in it all was learning how to grow the team and grow people around me. And it's not about having the best ideas and being the hardest worker and even the biggest, loudest, strongest voice. That is not what grows a company. And I had to adapt to that pretty quickly. And I had to do a lot of work on myself when it comes to professional development and personal development. So my whole methodology is really based on how to add value to people first before we approach professional success. And for a leader, let's say the secret of the method, not so secret because I'm telling you, but you lead the tagline we're leading with is helping a leader and owner of a successful business gain more personal freedom, because that's what I find so many women that I know and meet in business and conferences of how do you do it and have a life? How do you have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different businesses? And I mean, it takes time for one, but that's the commonality is that we feel like we have those golden handcuffs. But the secret to achieving personal freedom is making it not about yourself, making it about your team, helping your team achieve what they want to achieve and what they define as success, and really investing in those team members so that they can be well equipped to handle the things that get thrown at them. Because if not, then we end up in that bottleneck situation where everybody's coming to the owner, they can't get by without you, or even the manager, top 1, 2, 3 people. I mean, it's not scalable, and it's not fulfilling for the team. So that's what I believe in is through Grow and Glow method. There's many different. It's a holistic from foundational documents, branding, marketing, all through to scale. But the core of it is learning how to grow your people and empower those individuals.
That's great. And I think it's so important across the board. I know we'll talk about this in a little bit, but when we talk about balance, I'm the kind of person that I feel like I struggle with balance. I feel like it's either or, like I'm either really in depth in work or doing everything for my family. So we'll talk about that in a minute, but Olivia, you're up, my friend.
Yeah. So I feel like you talked a little bit about the split-second decision that you had to make essentially between staying in editorial or starting your own salon. What was it like starting a business at such a young age? And do you have any advice that you know now that you would have given to your younger self?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks, Olivia. What it was like was knowing I was taking on something hard, like 1, 2, 3 things that I didn't know how to do, but I did know how to do hair, very, very confidently. And then receiving 200 other job descriptions that I had no idea how to do, like responsibilities and things that were piling on, and trying to steer a ship with a blindfold and an unruly crew. That's how I felt at 21. But when it comes to what I would have told myself, I always knew and believed it would get better, and that's why I stuck with it. And having a why is crucial. So I was really solid in my why. And some of that the first thing was doing something in my hometown and creating something there that didn't exist. There were no luxury hair salons. There were no salon environments that a passionate stylist dedicated to their betterment could go in and really have that professional experience and even the income, the respect, the elevation of what we provided to our community. All of that was such a driving force for me to create that. That was that was my why. But there were definitely days where I was working with my family, my friends, women older than me, and again, it starts with me, and it starts with leadership in any organization. Is like those things that you see that you're not loving about your business, you have to take radical accountability for. So there was dysfunction in areas. There was maybe poor communication, and culture was something I was really intent on trying to grow and build, and I did not have the tools. So what I would tell anybody in that position is work on yourself first, always. If there's a situation that you don't like, especially a reoccurring commonality, you can find a thread throughout the challenges you keep facing. You got to look first at yourself and see why you keep finding yourself in these positions. And what comes to mind there are many, many, many challenges, but communication and being able to be relatable to people. Like if you guys know anything about personality tests, that was a huge tool I clung to with all the different personality tests.
Yeah.
I'm high DISC on the DISC test, D, like all D, and then I, and then S, and then C. So if you know anything about that, like D is like driver, do, like action, not a lot of room for emotion and feeling. And that doesn't necessarily work well with a room full of artists. And primarily female artists. So right there was a huge area of opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like, did you have any kind of fear of failure when you first started? I mean, was that ever in your mind looking back, like now I think you could say no, because you've been so successful and have helped so many people, but can you look back and say, ooh, gosh, that was scary?
So I'm very honest. There's some things about me that I think are hard to relate to because I don't know why I am the way I am, but I think being on your own really young, or even before I was on my own, I always had this belief that if I wanted something, it was on me to get it or to figure it out. So I already have that like radical independence and accountability. So I knew it being without, BSing, I knew if I was going to do it, I was going to make it work. So I didn't so much doubt that I would get to a level of success, but the doubt came from how the team members, how I would grow a team, and if certain people would stay or go, and if we would be able to all come together. That was the hardest time. Like, I remember looking in the mirror, my skin was, breaking out, and I was just like, I looked at myself, I'm like, I look terrible. And it was just that like white knuckling, like, I am going to make this happen. Like, I am not going to give up. And back then I was working behind the chair, probably 50 hours a week. I mean, trying to do it all to get the bills paid, to get the scalability, to grow the team, to invest in more team members, more tools, more improvements. And I genuinely believed that it would be successful because I wasn't going to give up. I was going to figure it out. I was going to white knuckle it. But now that approach, I'm grateful to be out of that mindset of like, I'm going to make it happen no matter what. But yeah, I definitely doubted aspects of it and you don't know if your whole team is going to walk out and you're going to have to start over. That could happen at any stage in a hair salon business. Like that's why it's so important to grow a team of people that you're aligned with from the start, because if you build on shaky ground, you're never going to be stable. Like if you try to appease people and you try to, overlook things and you don't have accountability, like that is slow and low. Like the slow and low simmer to growth. And at least in the type of business I have was a big crucial part of success.
What advice would you give to someone that is struggling with self-doubt within their leadership position and feels like they're letting their team down?
It depends on what you are doubting or what you're worried about letting them down in. I'm going to repeat myself probably in saying that looking at yourself first. Are you showing up and setting the example? I believe that it's not about setting up expectations. It's about showing an example and leading the way to show people what's possible. Because if you can't walk the walk, then either people won't have confidence in you, belief in you, respect in you. So I would say if you just show that your intentions are genuine. And on the flip side of that, like, I think what I had to do might be the opposite of what some of my friends had to do, where I had to soften and show my vulnerability and my human side to achieve a result and to gain that genuine respect. Some people, they need to step into their power more and they need to gain confidence in areas. So I think it's looking at where you're not seeing the progress you want to see and trying to fill in those gaps, and then stepping into your genuine, who you are, step into your vulnerability, but also step into your power and always lead from your why and be trying to add value to your team. And I mean, if you're doing all those things, if you're still having challenges, then maybe it's looking at if the team is a good culture fit, because if the values and the vision aren't aligned, then you can never successfully lead that group of people.
So you talked about how the importance of kind of taking a look at yourself. So that's part of it, but also prioritizing yourself. So I think it's a combo deal in that we have to look at ourselves and see our weaknesses and understand them so that we can build ourselves up. But I think we also have to take time for ourselves each and every day to make us stronger, to make us better leaders, to make us, I mean, for me, having 6 kids, I'm a better person if I take some time for myself or do something special for me, because otherwise it gets overwhelming. So how do you feel about prioritizing yourself, and how do you prioritize yourself?
Yeah. Well, 2021, a little bit after the COVID experience, which for some people that was great. Some people it was not. For me, it actually helped me realize that I was actually investing too much of my wellness, my heart, my soul, my emotions into the business. Because like I said, I had that like white knuckle it death grip of this is going to happen. This is going to work on my organization, and growing it from nothing. Literally, I'm very emotionally attached to my team, my business, and I overlooked, and this could be for people, this could be your relationship to your family. This could be your relationship to anything in your life where that is like, you're blinded to what you're not doing for yourself and how it might actually be hurting you more than helping you. Or, so around that time I started breaking out really bad, and I started, having like a lot of bloating and different symptoms that were freaking me out. And I'm a generally healthy person, but what I realized is I wasn't managing my stress in healthy ways, and that being almost like an adrenaline junkie, I never thought of the work as stress. I thought of, because I liked it mentally, it's still physical stress on your body. So my body was never going through its natural rhythm of like rest, digest, reset. So that coupled along with getting closed down, and thank God we're in Florida. I think it was only like 2 months. It gave me enough time to have the clarity of like, wow, I'm sacrificing anything and everything necessary to put the business first. But in the blink of an eye, without any control or warning, it could literally be taken away. So having it closed and having I can't do anything about it was like a really big, beautiful wake up call for me to say, maybe it's not worth sacrificing my general well-being for this company and this organization. And maybe I can even just have both and a little more balance. So that was my personal experience in that realm.
And you do something really fun now, something that I did for years in my life. So
glad
involving horses.
I have to share that. Yeah. So about that time, right after COVID, I was turning 30, and I have been obsessed with horses my whole life. And coming from a lower middle income family, we couldn't afford lessons, and I didn't have anybody in the neighborhood. We were in a neighborhood with horses, so I would draw horses. I had horse books, I had horse toys, but I never got to experience them. 30th birthday, my husband got me lessons, and here we are 3 years later, and I have 2 horses, and I ride competitively, and I'm like, it's been so good for my mental, physical, emotional, spiritual health. Like, never go back with.
It's never too late to pick up a hobby. I love that. That's so fantastic. I think so many people are afraid that people in a sport or just like in a craft have been working at it for so long that they'll never even be able to compete. But the whole point is to have fun, and maybe eventually, as you did, get up to the competitive level.
Girl, well, let me tell you, I started out with the 10-year-old children. Like, if you look at the videos of me starting, and a side note, if you don't know about horseback riding, it is not as simple as pulling the right rein to go right,
Nope.
left rein to go right, like kick to go. It's so nuanced. It's so fine tuned. It's beautiful and amazing. And I love the challenge of it now. It's more than just getting on, having some fun and riding around. It's like a whole new level of mastery that I can. So you master one. I've mastered an area of my life, and that's this business area. And I'm like, now I get to start over as a beginner. And a lot of people aren't willing to do that, but it's so healthy for you. And if you can just put your ego aside and be okay with not being good at something, you get so much out of the growth process when you start over with something again.
I agree 100%. And it's so fun because I started riding when I was 4 years old, and I rode until my early 40s. And the reason I stopped riding was I decided to try something new, and I started doing triathlons. And I'm also the kind of person, when I do something, I do it to the extreme. Yeah. I had an injury, I had surgery, I had complications from the surgery. And after that, my knee just couldn't handle sitting in an English saddle. I can, go on a Western horse all day long, but just that, and I love the competition part. And what I loved about it, and this is why I think what you said is like doing something as a beginner again, you're very young, but as we get older, it's fun to start something as a beginner again, because it really challenges not only us physically, but our brains as well. So when I would ride, I couldn't think about all the crap that happened earlier in the day. I was completely focused on what I was doing with this horse. And it was so refreshing and just really helps your brain, helps your mind, and so peaceful.
Yeah. There's always going to be more work to do. You're never going to have it all done. And it's a constant struggle, even now with all the other things I'm continuing to take on with the consulting and the speaking, and we do so much work in the community, and my brain just never shuts off with things and opportunities and possibilities. But you just have to know that you got to set your own timers. So what I've done, I don't know if you asked a question to this effect, but my schedule now, what I do to help be more intentional and more in control and aware, is I have my whole week is planned out with blocks for each area, including personal time, family time, cleaning and cooking, my horses, my salons, my consulting, my speaking, my time with my assistant. I plan it all. And yeah, sometimes I'll have to change things. But as long as that is just reoccurring on the schedule, then it helps me achieve a level of balance. And I actually don't really subscribe to too much. I think balance is a very overrated term. And you can manipulate it to fit whatever, works for you at that time. So I just think there's seasons in your life where you have to prioritize what you have to prioritize and know that you're choosing that. So yeah.
I think we get so caught up in things and we become very hard on ourselves when we don't. You hear, oh, this person has such a balanced life, and I'm like, let me ask you some questions about that. Tell me really, right? I mean, and you're right. We have seasons of our lives. Sometimes we're super busy with work, and other times it's not as bad, and we can really get all the extra things done. But I love the idea that you schedule out everything. I'm a big scheduler. If it's not on my calendar, it doesn't happen. But there's some days I feel like I just can't get it all done. And that's okay. And I always say, especially to my kids, that's what tomorrow is for. Keep the list. That's what tomorrow is for. So ladies, don't be so hard on yourselves.
Yeah. It's never all going to be done.
No, for sure.
If you can afford it, highly recommend. You might be surprised by outsourcing. Maybe you can even afford more because you're doing the things that you are best positioned to monetize, like cleaning, house cleaning, help with house cleaning service. I would have never thought that was something feasible coming from where I came from and my, conditioning mentally. But it gets to a point where you're like, I can't live in chaos anymore. And I cannot do the things that I'm doing. So maybe I can afford this in a way more than I thought. And maybe the value is there. And maybe a lot of people can afford it. They just they feel guilty. So I'm like, you got to do the things that are going to help you show up best and where you're most important. So.
Yeah, I like how you brought up outsourcing, actually. I think that's so important because in any aspect, I'm finishing up my business degree. So there's always this split between vertically integrating everything and doing everything yourself and applying that to your personal life versus, hey, it takes a village. And it does take a village. And if you have the resources to spend, I think it's so important, and it doesn't make you any less of a person, any less of a woman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My favorite outsourcing, I have a lot of favorite ones, but my absolute favorite, Instacart. I do not like grocery shopping. I know I have so many people that disagree with me. Oh, it's so relaxing. It is not relaxing. It takes so much time. I'm like, click, click, click. Okay, I'm done, and I don't have to take that time. So that's a big outsourcing one for me.
Love that. Yep, same. Amazon, I do Whole Foods delivers, or I can pick it up. They don't even charge you. Just pick it up. You put it in the cart. And that I think when you start to schedule your life and look at your life the same way you look at a business, you'll find those areas that you can set yourself up for a more reliable, repeatable, desirable end result.
Yeah, agreed. So I want to talk a little bit about struggles, because that's something that we talk about a lot. We do pretty much now every other week. We have a guest, and then we do an episode on our own, and we talk about our struggles. Like, cause I think a lot of times we don't share enough of what we're going through. So many women feel like they're struggling alone, that they're the only one that's going through something. So we like to talk about it to show other women that, like, you are not alone. No one can ever walk in your shoes, but when you share what you're going through, you can really help other people. Yeah. So what was your biggest struggle? And I don't want to say how did you overcome it, because I think that we're always a work in progress, but what steps did you take to kind of move forward?
The hardest time in my life was when, I found myself in that crossroads of early part of my life was a responsible mom, loving dad, brother, cousins, grandpa, to, about 14, 15, my mom's full blown in addiction with prescriptions not working. Got a boyfriend where we don't get along. Family's all alienated, and I can't function when, your parent is awake for 3 days, asleep for 3 days. That was the hardest thing I've ever been through. Cause not only did I lose my mom, my dad and my brother, but also my mom. And it was like a joke to me that nobody around me saw what was happening. But I get it that, like, there's a lot of empathy, and my mom did go to rehab, and she is, we're great now. Everything is, we have a funny relationship. But there's that sigh of relief that there's a bright side to the end of that. But feeling like no matter, for one, that the picture and the path toward the picture of your future doesn't exist. There's like, the bridge is washed out. There's no access to the exit. Can be a very hopeless feeling. And I understand how people sink into depression and addiction when they don't see hope. And hope, I think, comes from seeing a path to whatever that thing for you is. A next step, a future, a brighter future, a path toward a level of fulfillment. And that can look different for everybody. But that was really hard. And when I left my mom's house, it was out of self-preservation, but I knew that I was so far behind. And I was staying at drug dealers' houses because those were the people whose parents didn't care what we did, and there was so much around me, and the opiate epidemic at that time, especially in my smaller hometown of Florida, was really bad. Like, it was a zombie town, and you have all this darkness. And I had such a strong will from an early age, like, oh, I'm not going to do drugs, going to have this kind of life, going to do this for myself. But the more it closes in on you and the less you see hope and reason, I got to this singular moment of darkness of being like, well, why not just try that pill? Why not just try that cocaine? That was, that could have really gone, my life could have gone in a completely different direction. And I mean, I thank God, and the people that came into my life at that time, there was a hairdresser, a woman that was a hairdresser, and she's the one who gave me that job for $25 a day. And she was like the aunt of one of the kids. She's like, what are you doing here? You don't really fit in. And, but if I hadn't had that, I don't know how I could have gotten out of that darkness. But I think saying yes without really knowing what's possible in a given situation is what's helped me achieve basically the whole life I have today. Is like, it would have been easy for me to say, $25 a day, it's not worth it. Mm-hmm. Or, hairdressing, like, nah. But I didn't have anything better. So I was like, okay, well, this is where we'll start. So just being willing to try and say yes, and having a will, when there's a will, there's a way kind of attitude, even to getting into hair school. I just didn't have a license, didn't have my mom's permission necessarily. I wasn't emancipated. It was all these reasons. I could have been like, no, I'm not going to try. But just continuing to say yes and trying would be my advice to get out of a situation like that. The same thing with the hair salon. I could have said, no, I'm going to stay in Chicago, but I could always come back to Chicago. I can't always come back to a 21-year-old business owner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. And when you think about, so the woman who gave you the job at $25 an hour, when you think about
a day, not an hour. An hour would be very, very nice.
I'm sorry.
oh,
I gave you a big raise there.
Yeah.
So having someone come forward and kind of, we talked about this on previous episodes, and I'd love to bring this up again with you. And I'm sure we'll continue to talk about it, because there's this notion out there that people will say that they're self-made, that they never had any help. And self-made means different things to different people, mm-hmm. right? But I'm a believer that you always have people around you that are helping you, right? And again, it's that outsourcing, however you do it. Like, what are your thoughts on the idea of being self-made versus understanding that it takes a team, it takes a village?
Yeah, I think both can exist at the same time, in the way that, speaking to the self-made portion of it, like, nobody was going to hand me anything that I didn't have to work for and make happen for myself. But it was my responsibility to ask for help and to say yes to opportunity even when it was kind of hidden. So I think that they're both true. Like, if I would have just been chilling, nothing would have been made. Mm-hmm. So yes, I had to really choose every day to show up, give my best, say yes, ask for more, try harder, learn new things. I was like reading the back of the bottles, like in my downtime, or cleaning out the underneath the sink that hadn't been touched in 5 years at the hair salon. And that's what caused the owner to say, okay, now I'm going to give you $50 a day when the other woman isn't working. And so that's the self-made aspect of it. And on the other side, I think as human beings, like, I love to learn about the psychology and the evolution of our species. And if you look at everything we have as a community and what we've built and where we're at with civilization right now, like, we had to work together to get here. Mm-hmm. And I think it's in our nature to want to help people, specifically with the things that we've been able to overcome. So if you're scared to ask for help, if you're scared to ask for mentorship, then you're not going to make yourself any better or get where you want to go. But I think people are inherently good and they want to help each other. Like, I mean, I know I do. I know everything I've been through means so much more if I can use it in the service of other people. So yeah, do good, help other people, share what you know. And like, there's enough for everybody. I had another salon owner friend. I just cold called salons. So I'm like 22, sitting at the desk with no business 9 out of 10 of the times. And I'm calling salons. I'm like, who are the top salons in the area? Okay. Will you help me? Can I come shadow you? Like, not really knowing any better than to just ask. So that worked in my favor. And somebody said yes. And, we're still friends. And she taught me a ton over the years and made connections for me. So, yeah. Yeah,
I think most people... I think, again, I don't know how many no's you got, but I think most people really do want to help, especially if they're not looking at it if you're looking at it in service of someone else, right? Not looking at it as competition. But I always say to Olivia and the rest of the kids that the worst that someone can say is no. Mm-hmm. And if you don't ask, you'll never know, right? So I think it's so important that you do put yourself out there and just keep trying, because life isn't easy for anyone. Like, it doesn't matter when we define success, which will probably be what we talk about next, is like, how do you define success? Because for a lot of people, it's a financial thing. It's money in the bank. For a lot of people, it's happiness. Happiness depends on the person, right? So there's a lot of different things, but for you, I know how I define it, and it is about happiness and health and family. But for you, how do you really define success? And not just as a business owner, but as a person.
Yeah, and I talk about this a lot, and this is actually something that I've become very intentional about in the last few years. And it's actually like part of how I open some of my talks. I have everybody picture their earliest version of success, and it kind of ties back into the end of what we were just saying with the mentorship too. I think for one, if you are questioning whether or not it's in your best interest or it serves you to teach and train other people, we have a concept in Salon Halo of when somebody gets to a certain level, they start to mentor and teach other people. And it's just fully ingrained in our culture. It's not really an option. And what that does for you, it's not just about the person you're teaching. You will absolutely be elevated when you add value to other people. Your service ticket goes up. Your knowledge becomes solidified in a way that you don't have when you can't verbalize what you're doing. You can't teach other people. The regard other people have for you, your clients seeing you teach another person next to you, like all these things really amplify you. So it's very self-serving as well. Not that that's why you do it, but there is a next level of mastery, achievement, and karma, and all the ways you want to look at it when you do go and adding value to people. And that is something I never knew growing up. Like that wasn't, I never saw myself as wanting to be a teacher or anything like that. And now through the years of having to figure out how do I get to what my next level is, it's always sprouted the most out of when I was investing in other people, teaching other people inside and outside of my organization. So that's part of my definition of success. And my team as well, like a lot of them never saw themselves as teachers, and then they start to add value as a leadership in their stylist career path, and they bloom even more. We have a discussion though, all of us in the team, I think we do this a couple times a year, where we'll do a life balance wheel, and we'll rate our areas, how we see them from a scale of 1 to 10. And, areas like your home life, your friendships, your romantic relationships, your physical health, like all that stuff. There's like 10 pieces of the pie. And just for like a litmus test of where you're at. And over time, I think success is the definition of success should and will hopefully change as your seasons of life change. So what's most important, in my opinion, is that you as an individual are consciously and intentionally defining what success is to you. And then reverse engineering that into how you spend your days. Because it's really easy to go like, I want a multi-million-dollar salon. But that wasn't the success. If I just had the most miserable last 13 years and I ended up with this company that I have now, like that wouldn't have been success, So I try to make the correlation to your days are your life. So just start by mapping out how you want your days to look. So I know my Mondays look like, I know what my Tuesdays look like. I know how much horseback riding I can get in. I know how much time to check in with teams. So yeah, for me, basically success is just being able to live in alignment with how I want my days to look. My personal days, I like to have a balance of giving back to my team and the community, time with nature and my family, my animals, and just growing as a person and experiencing new things. I mean, that's where I'm at in my life, but it's changed over the years, and I think it should.
How can people find you? What else do you want listeners to know? You've given a lot of advice, a lot of really great advice. And so I think that people are going to get a lot out of this episode. But where can they find you? And is there anything else that you want them to know?
I'm glad we got to touch on the concept of how you spend your days. That would be a huge piece of advice that I would want everybody to consider and kind of hold that up to their lives. And even if they can only make a small change to start, just having the awareness of that, of the destination instead of just being on the road, just going. Yeah, I think I've said what I needed to say in terms of that stuff. Where to find me? Instagram, I'm going to be the most active on. So Instagram is at Ryann with 2 N's, so RYANN _ Halo, HALO, Ryann Halo. And please follow Salon Halo too. We post some really fun stuff on there. Proud of my team. And as I continue to start speaking more and more, I will continue to be putting out more content. So following me to get more advice, and you can always DM me. I am on LinkedIn, but I don't personally curate that as much.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll have everything in the show notes. So if you guys want to find her, you can find her, and she's amazing to keep up with. And I love seeing all your different posts, all the things you're doing. You're doing some really amazing work. You're speaking all over the place, podcasts, and then probably my favorite pictures though are the horses. So seeing you with your ribbons, like that to me is awesome. So
thank you.
So thank you so much for being our guest today. And Olivia, take it away.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, guys, kind of morbid. Well, it's not morbid. It's a little dark. But it's like self-call out. We lie to ourselves. Then we pretend we're not doing that. Then the pretense becomes so ingrained we call it reality. We tell ourselves it's working when it's not working. We tell ourselves it's fine when it's not fine.
So I'm going to disagree a little bit with it. I mean, we do lie to ourselves. A lot of people do lie to themselves. And that's why we talk about the importance of positive affirmations and really building yourself up, and understanding that what the world is putting on you, you can break free from it. You can push forward. And I mean, Ryan's story is like a prime example of how you move forward, even during challenging times, and not giving up no matter how tough the challenges are.
Yeah.
Any last words for that, Ryann?
Yeah. I think that I'm fortunate to have a really clear distinction of my awareness and capacity. Like when you have a field of vision, right? Like if you haven't let's get this right and like succinctly. You might be your point of view, your perspective through experience and where you're at in life, no matter your age. Sometimes it's like a little peephole. Sometimes it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and your perspective can grow and grow. And I can clearly remember as a younger person when my perspective was very narrow because I haven't been exposed very much. I haven't done a lot of personal work and exploration in that way, and all you know is what the people around you are teaching you and telling you and showing you. So now, like, dramatically, jumped into the deep end many times to expose what I need to know or want to learn, and by constantly choosing the uncomfortable route and the uncomfortable conversations and the reflective journeys, I can feel like I've lived in that. I could have related to that at one point, and I relate a lot less now. And maybe I'm wrong. I probably have so much I can't see. There's other dimensions I probably can't see. Let's be real. We don't really know anything. Even the more we know, the less we know.
Yeah.
There is a seminar that's kind of controversial that I attended called Landmark Forum. You guys ever heard of that? But
I have not.
It was great. It was awesome. My husband and I both went. He said it changed his life. And what one of the key takeaways is that, first of all, we make the meaning in our life on everything, like everything. Like they make it aggressively like anything and everything has no meaning unless we place it on there. And also, if you continue to find yourself in the same position, they call it a racket, and you're like getting some kind of fulfillment out of it. So I think by learning some of our natural habits to do that stuff, it helps me catch when we're going into that like lying to ourselves phase but it's like if your perspective hole is still very small, it might be hard to see that. So I say jump in the deep end, like challenge yourself. Your identity is your cage. Like if you're strongly identifying like, this is who I am, this is how I am, this is like you're trapping yourself in a cage. So yeah, that's my just stream of consciousness around.
I love it. I think that was a great way to end.
Yes.
So anyways, thank you for joining us, and to everyone out there, thank you for listening, and we will see you on our next episode.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.